Hello, I'm Scott Stevens, Goldsboro City Manager. Our update for April 2013. It's hard to believe time is moving forward. A glimpse of spring here in early April, and I would assume by the end of the month we'll be in full bloom and back to green and flowering. So I hope you enjoy this time of year. A couple things this week I want to share, or this month I'd like to share with you. First, I guess our Downtown Goldsboro Development Corporation, our DGDC, is moving office locations. They have been down in a building near the courthouse for quite a number of years. They are renovating an older structure on John Street behind City Hall. And they'll be moving into that through the month of April and fully settled in May. So please come join them, welcome them at their new location, and more to come on that as they get officially moved over. As a point of clarification, the staff there are city employees, and they do have a city role and function some for the city, but the housing side of it, or the building, is money has been raised by the nonprofit side of our Downtown Development Corporation. So when you talk about taxpayer money being spent there, it's really donations and other funding sources, not your tax funds, that are supporting the DGDC office space. And so I want to thank those supporters of our downtown efforts and encourage all of us to go by and look at where they are and say hello and see some of the activity that's going on downtown. We continue to talk about, or at least get calls about, feral cats and the ordinance that we may revise that would make a change to that. And the change is that we could make it a ability to fine citizens for feeding feral dogs and cats. The issue for us is not trying to starve these animals to death. The issue is trying to make it so that they are hungry enough that when we set traps to capture them, that they'll go into the traps. And that has been an issue for some, trying to capture dogs and cats that are wild animals or running loose in the community, but are being fed by people that are sensitive to their needs. And so we are talking with the groups that are interested. No formal decision has yet been made. I would expect the council to hear that sometime in April. But we are meeting with those that have spoken with the mayor and council about other ways or alternative methods. And so again, we are sensitive to both dogs and cats and the fair treatment and humane treatment of them. So again, more to come on that in April. We talked about our Goldsboro Partnership Against Crime, and that'll be ongoing probably most of these updates, but we're short GPAC. We did hold our first call-in where we bring in folks that have a pretty bad history in terms of what they've done and what they've been convicted of, and asked them to come in and told them March 19th that the rules would be different for them. And we started with a group of 10. I want to commend our police department, the chief and Sergeant Trero, for putting that together, and thank all of our partners from the community to the justice system. But for these 10 individuals, the rules will be different, and there's more to come. It's really in response to the violence that occurred here in 2012, trying to make the years as we go forward safer for all, and recognizing that every life matters, the victim and the one that is the perpetrator in all cases, because you mess up two families when something like that occurs. And so again, you'll see more advertising, whether that through radio stations, billboards, our bus system. But please, if you have an interest, get involved with that, and we can get you information on how to get involved and contact the police department about our GPAC partnership. I'd also like to say to the News Argus, thank you. They've given us excellent coverage of that, and we really are trying to make sure that the community is aware of it and can be supportive or get plugged into where you would like to help. Our Streetscape project, it's not a whole lot of activity, at least not publicly at this point. We did close out the final numbers a month or so ago, and our project came in below the $2 million that we had estimated for the first phase. Still a sizable investment, but less than the numbers we had shared with our city council in terms of what it might cost. We have awarded the design part of that project to an engineering firm that has a pretty good history of streetscape work. It's the Wooten Company out of Raleigh, and then we've Allison Platt as the landscape designer again here locally. And so those two entities are working together to design the next two blocks, really going from Mulberry down to Chestnut, with at least one roundabout in between, maybe at Walnut, and potentially some more. But we're going to talk with our business community, make sure we're doing what they want. That was a compromise of angled parking in the middle, parallel parking on the side, and we hope to get design and initial costs this summer with the idea of bidding it in the fall and likely go into construction in January of 2014 if the council chooses to move that project forward. So always try to give you an update on that, because I think many people have been interested in that project, but it's something that there is activity. It just won't be a lot of visible activity for the next few months. We've talked recently about a multi-sports complex and potential for baseball in Goldsboro. We have a local business person trying to bring a Coastal Plains Carolina League team here. It's a pretty exciting time in terms of having that interest. We had talked about a multi-sports complex in partnership with the YMCA out on Harding Drive. And again, we've got a rendering for you of what it could look like as a multi-sports complex, primarily geared around soccer at this point. And going from the front fields, 2 or 3 fields up front that currently exist, to really 6 fields initially that would sort of be our practice and playing fields. And we're hopeful that 4 of the fields shown in this rendering could be an AstroTurf, and we'll see what the costing is for that. But maintenance-wise and playability year-round, there's a lot of advantages to AstroTurf. It's more expensive to put in, less expensive to maintain, but the better advantage is you can play all year round, all types of weather, without damaging the field. And so again, as you can see from this photo, the entranceway is off of Harding Drive. It circles around. You have paved parking lots. You have lit fields, at least the 4 new fields. The existing fields up front would not be lit. That was really a commitment made to the neighbors there. But you'd have concessions, bathrooms, and a children's play area. And I think it really would be a amenity of the community for those of us that are here and have kids involved in sports, whether it's soccer, whether it's lacrosse, whether it's football, whatever is a field sport. And there might be an opportunity to bring in some folks from the outside with tournaments and those that are more involved in those traveling types of sports to spend the night and eat in our restaurants and enjoy what Goldsboro has to offer. So more to come in that. Best case, if we move forward with this project, and again, it's a multi-million-dollar project, but best case if we move forward with this project and the council hadn't had a time to do more than just to see this rendering at this point, will be fall of 2014. So I don't want to get you set up too early, but if it moves forward, we're still probably 1.5 years away before we'll be playing on those fields. And so you'll hear more discussion of that in the coming months. The baseball component may or may not work here. We have worked with a consultant, and we'll be awarding a contract to them to give us a costing of the soccer complex in and of itself, and then what baseball would require on top of that. So we know what it would cost for the multi-sports complex alone without baseball, and then know what it would cost to have some Coastal Plain League facility there as well. So that's the discussion you'll hear in the coming months. We do have a number of properties for sale. If you know of folks that have an interest, 2 locations we've had a number of calls about. One is the former Arts Council building that we had purchased for potential use as an Air Force Museum, and we've decided not to pursue that project at this time. It's at the corner of Spence and Ash, and we'd ask if you call the manager's office if you have any inquiries about that or questions about it, 580-4330. Again, the manager's office, 580-4330. And you have to go through and provide a bid or what you're willing to pay, and then it has to go through an upset bid process. So it will be a very public process. We don't have a set price. What we have to do is take an offer. If the council accepts that offer, we put it out for 10 days, and someone has the opportunity to make an offer above that. So that's how the process works for that site. And would also work that way for our property on Wayne Memorial Drive, there at the corner of New Hope Road and beside the community college. We own the front 19 or 20 acres along Wayne Memorial, up to its corner with New Hope, and then the property behind us is currently owned by the county. So it's a very large field there. The city owns the front portion of that. We have talked with the community college. They are interested in it. It's a matter of funding, and the city paid for that property some years ago. We believe we ought to get that money back, and that money was paid for with travel and tourism money. If it were to sell, that money then could be used possibly to fund the multi-sports complex or city portion. So again, we do need to sell that property, whether it's to the community college or whether it's to a private investor. But we have had a lot of inquiries about both properties, and would encourage you, again, if you have questions or want additional information, to please don't hesitate to call the manager's office. Street resurfacing, talked about more specifics of where those streets were last month. We have a contract or a bid out. We received bids a week ago. We received 2 bids. It requires 3, so we have to rebid it, and we'll receive bids again this week, and this time we only have to receive 1 bid. So this first week of April, we should receive bids. We ought to present those to council, I think, at our April 18th meeting. And then if the council chooses to award that resurfacing work, and somewhere around $500,000 worth of street resurfacing, it could be under construction in the May-June timeframe. So I think you'll see some street resurfacing on city streets within Goldsboro in the coming months. Beyond that, I think I'll close. We're still budgeting, of course. It's that time of year for us, and more of that to come in May. But I would tell you, any of the projects that I've talked about here or others, if you want more information, you can always call us. You can always visit our website, www.goldsboronc.gov, so www.goldsboronc.gov. And as always, ask if you have questions, comments, areas that we can improve upon. And I would just, a note of caution, just so you can be looking for it, we do have some new police vehicles rolling out for those that have sort of become accustomed to the current patrol vehicles that we have. We have 13 that we ordered last May. Have come in, they're being equipped, and you'll start seeing them on the streets of Goldsboro over the coming months. I know at least one of them is in service. I was told by the chief that 3 or 4 more should be in service very soon, and I would expect by the end of April you'll have all 13 patrol vehicles patrolling the streets of Goldsboro. And again, these are a Chevy Caprice, so they look a little different, but we hope they'll provide good service to our officers, as the Crown Vics have in past years. The final thing for me, we've had a number of our department heads, a couple of them retire at the end of December. I'm pleased to announce that our building code administrator, we've promoted Alan Anderson. So if you see Alan in the community, he's worked with us a number of years. He's a very pleasant personality. I think he'll do an excellent job for us. He went through a good process here, and I'm delighted to be able to announce Alan for this month. So if you hear that and see him in the month of April, please congratulate Alan and help him in his success here. And the next position, our Public Works Director, Neil Bartlett, retired in December, came back to work with us part-time through the month of February and March. He is now officially retired. My assistant manager, Tasha Logan, is filling in as assistant manager and interim Public Works Director, but we've gone through that process. We have some good candidates, and I hope to be able to announce a person in this position in the month of April. So by May, I should have a name and be able to share more information with you about our Public Works Director. But with that said, anytime that we can help or you have questions, please don't hesitate to contact our staff, the manager's office. We are here to serve you, and we enjoy doing that most all the time, so please reach out to us. Thank you again for your time, and call us if we can help.